My name is Phyllis Hartman. I'm Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees for the Homeless Children's Education Fund. And I'm delighted to be here this morning to welcome you to a session entitled, Where Did You Sleep Last Night? GLB, I can't do alphabets, GLBTQIA Youth. I'm pleased that you're here this morning. Hopefully everybody has gotten an evaluation sheet. If you haven't, please let me know. I will give you one. It's very important to us to get feedback on these programs so that we can continue to develop them and make them better. I also have a sheet that I'm going to pass around with a pen for those of you who are getting social work credits or Act 48 credits today. And if there's any other kind of credit program, I don't know if any of you are human resource management professionals like I am, you can probably get HRCI credits too. So if you have a credit program you're wanting to get credit for this session, make sure that you put your information on this sheet that I'm going to pass around. I think that's all I'm required to tell you about. I am going to allow our esteemed panel here to introduce themselves because they can do a much better job than I could on it. So if there are no questions, one final thing. Out in the lobby area where you came upstairs or got off the elevator, there's some stations, and those stations have listening devices. They're actually cute little cans. Those stations are recordings of young people who have experienced homelessness or were or are experiencing homelessness, and things that they've said about their situation. They're very impactful, so I would urge you to stop by and listen to some of those recordings. They're quite startling in some cases, and help you understand kind of the feeling that some of these folks might have that end up in this situation. So without further ado, I would like to allow the panel to introduce themselves.
Do you want us to introduce ourselves as we give our section, or just?
It's entirely up to you guys.
I'm just going to jump in. I'm last to speak, but I'm Joanne Goodall. I'm a nurse practitioner. I've been with Family Links and Adolescent Clinic, and most recently GLCC for 21 years. And so I'm just going to talk about medical issues at the very end of the presentation.
My name is Lindsay Sickler. I'm the director of the Gay and Lesbian Community Center, and I'm also the Youth Programs Manager for PERSAD Center. I've been involved with SAFE since the beginning, and I'll be speaking first once we get through introductions.
My name is Ciora Thomas. I'm the founder of Sisters United. It's a program for African American and lower socioeconomic transgender women of the city. I partner with the GLCC. I love the GLCC, and yeah.
And I'm Nike Felice. I'm the Associate Director for Project Silk, which is a safe space for LGBT youth of color and transgender women.
Fantastic. Did everybody get the handouts? I saw a couple new people come in. Great.
Yeah, if there's anybody that didn't get them,
Just put your hand up, please. Thank you.
I will deliver them.
So for your reference in the first handout that all of you should have or are going to get momentarily, there's some basic vocabulary and definitions for you to review. Feel free to take your time and look through that. We are going to have time afterwards to answer any questions. One of the things that we need to talk about as far as safe space and working with homeless youth is that, forgive me, it's been a long day already. Let me start again. One of the things that I get asked about a lot is how to create safe space wherever you are. And I included, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, but I included in the back, it's building blocks of safe space. And these are just some suggestions to start with. So one of the things you want to do is make sure that you have your safe space rules visible and readable. At the GLCC, we actually have a couple of really huge, annoyingly huge, posters on the wall so that everybody that comes in knows from the beginning, what the expectations are. Respect at all times, no exceptions. You give it and you expect it. You always address folks using preferred pronouns and/or the preferred name. You communicate openly, both verbally and with your body language. And a lot of times people don't think about this when you're talking to somebody. Well, I'll give you an example. If I'm talking to you and I'm doing this at the same time, I'm not actually paying attention to you, am I? And when you're working with disadvantaged youth, when you're working with anybody, it's very disrespectful to not give them your full attention. Be an active listener. What does that mean? That means I followed that up a little further down with, listen and respond. Do not listen to respond. That's really important when working with vulnerable populations. You want to treat everybody equally. I know that this is a very marshmallow puff statement, but it's really true and it goes a long way. If you are working with a diverse group and you let one, for an example, you let one young adult use a special facility in the agency and not the others, they're going to see you as playing favorites, and they're not going to trust you. Don't judge. You haven't walked in their shoes or lived their life. Another basic thing in physical space is to have posters, flyers, programs, things on the walls and the desk and the spaces that show them that they are welcome. You want to make sure, and this can be a bit of a task as I'm quite aware, but you want to make sure, especially when you're working whether with staff or volunteers, that everybody that you're working with understand what your basic guidelines are and how you wish the folks that you're working with to be treated. All of this said, it's also very important as a provider to be easy on yourself. The respect thing is really important for consumers and clients, but it's also important for self. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to misgender someone. You're going to forget somebody's name. It's okay to ask. It's okay also to apologize if you make a mistake. What's not okay is, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I really didn't mean to do that. 5 minutes later, are you okay? I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Because at that point, you've now taken it away from focus on them to put the focus on you, and you've made everybody uncomfortable. So just apologize and move on. So, make sure I'm getting all this. So, a lot of the times, we actually talked about this in length, why is it important to use somebody's preferred pronoun? I'd like you to think for a second about walking into a space with a name tag that says Bob, right? You walk into that space and that's your name, but everybody in there is calling you Becky. How would that make you feel? Completely and totally disrespected and unseen. You become invisible standing right where you are. I know that it can be difficult. I know it can be uncomfortable to remember to ask the pronoun question or, again, preferred name. But it's actually even more uncomfortable for the person you're trying to serve if you're not addressing them in the way they wish to be addressed. So one of the things that I want to talk about as well is just a little bit about service access for youth. We started 3.5 years ago. Is that about right? I don't know. It feels like
3 years in February.
Thank you. We started 3 years ago, and this actually started as I started my work with homeless youth through PERSED Center with Street Outreach Services, and Susie from HCF had approached me because the hub had lost funding, unfortunately, and then there wasn't any central place downtown that served homeless youth. And the GLCC is right smack dab downtown, and we weren't very utilized. When we first moved downtown, we were open right before we shifted to our downtown space. We were open 15 to 18 hours a week. That changed when we moved downtown. We're now open 60 to 63 hours a week, completely volunteer run and operated. And there was a lot of time during the day where we didn't have a lot of people coming in. So it seemed like a perfect fit. We were central. I wanted to get more services at the center, and with my job, that was where my focus was. And so it came together. We started 1 day a week. It is completely volunteer run and operated, as I said. And once the young adults knew that they were safe there, they started coming all of the time, which was great, except at first I didn't have the staff for it. So went back, what's really great about the Service Access for Youth Collaborative, which, just so everybody is aware, it's HCEF, it's UPMC Adolescent Health and Medicine, PERSAT, GLCC, Healthcare for the Homeless, and about 18 to 22 other agencies. And we all work together to make this service happen. We started 3 years ago, one day in an afternoon, and now we're up to Monday through Friday, 12 to 3. We serve lunch every day that we're there. We have access to hygiene products. There's clothes, winter gear, stuff like that, and it all came together because a group of people saw a need, and I'm hoping that we can continue to do this work. One of the reasons outside of central location that the GLCC works is that as a board, we wanted to make sure that it was open and safe for all folks. Initially, I'm going to be honest with you, I got a lot of flack from people because it is a queer space, and I use that word, I own that word, okay? And so how is it going to be welcoming to everybody? The fact is that homelessness crises happen to everybody, and I don't care how you identify, and nobody on my board cares how you identify. We want to make sure that you get the services and resources that you need. And so that one of the reasons I started with the building blocks of safe space is that it doesn't matter that it's a gay and lesbian community center, that it's actually services for people across the queer continuum and our allies and straight folks. Allowing people across the spectrum to come in gives us the ability to provide these services and teachable moments. We do have times sometimes where people come in and they might say something a little off color. Hey, you realize that's not okay in this space. They ask why, it starts a conversation, and it ends up being good for everybody all the way around. There have been instances where, sometimes we've had kids in our program for 6 to 8 months and they have not talked about their sexual identity or gender identity. And then they finally feel comfortable enough and they talk about it because they know that they're safe and accepted there. And other kids, I have actually witnessed conversations where they start to gain an understanding about other people in their community, which I think is a really beautiful thing. So, I'm almost there, okay, good. So one of the biggest things is making sure whatever you're doing, whether you are trying to create safe space around you as a person or in an actual physical space, is to pay attention to what the needs are of the person you're addressing. If you are doing, for example, sometimes we have folks, say is focused on 25 and under, we will have folks come in that are over 25. There are certain things that we can't provide for them, but there are other things we can. We have access to hygiene products and clothing, and we can definitely help them write resumes or anything like that. But if they come in asking for the number for a bar, obviously that we're not going to then provide, we're not going to take them in the back and get them some clothes. You want to make sure that you're being attentive to what the needs are that are presented. And I don't want to overstep my time, so I'm going to turn it over to Ciora.
All right. Well, again, my name is Ciora Thomas. I am an African-American transgender woman. I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I want to start this off, first of all, by showing you something. I think it's always better to, it's good to hear about it, but when you see it, I think that gives you a broader, spectrum of what's going on. Now, it's quite long, so I'm just going to show you the clip from the streets. It's basically our transgender youth, and they are out in the streets. A lot of people don't see that. I myself, partnering with the GLCC, want to get out to the streets to get them out of the streets. And it has to deal with our police in the city and how they deal with transgender women as well, and how that needs to be, addressed and taken care of correctly. So without further ado, I'll just give you a little clip of this here. the relationship, with your trans child is so, so important. Just having someone to tell them, I love you, holding them, giving them a hug, those little things are very, very important, because if you push your child away, this will be their home. This will be their home. So we need to make that apparent. We need to get that out there to the community. We need to let mothers and fathers know this is going on. So I want to thank you so much, China. It's a pleasure. I love you so, so much. Thank you so much. So we are here with some of our patrons of the city. Introduce yourself and your age.
Corey Newby, I'm 18.
I'm Dayron Worthy, aka Jahada.
And your age.
18.
So we have some of our fresh youth, here, and we're going to get some insight from them and the struggles that may happen within the city, in the downtown area of Pittsburgh. So how do you guys feel about the escorting in the city as a whole?
As a whole, I feel like it's very complicated. Like, it's not very much money, but like you have to do what you have to do to get to where you want to get in life. So.
Well, I feel like it's gotten a little crazy because there's so many trannies out here that want to have it. There's people coming in from other towns that want to have it and they don't got it. And it's just like diseases are carrying left and right. It was just yesterday that I found out blue waffle was real. Like,
What's blue waffle?
blue waffle is a disease that people get through fluids, or it's just nasty. It's nasty. It's gross. And I just been getting tired of seeing escorts. I was an escorting girl, but I had to quit because it gets old, it gets boring, it gets tiring. There's days where you go home with no money if you ain't that good of a girl, and if you are that good of a girl, you need to watch what's in your pants after you was doing the dance. Right, it gets real.
So what specifically brought you guys down here, to want to be, I've been there. I know surviving by any means necessary is something that we go through. So, but I want to know from your guys' perspective, because you're part of the youth, what brought you down here?
What brought me down here was me and my mom had a fight, so like she kicked me out, I come down here so I'll have something to eat the next day, I'll have some clothes to put on, because I refuse to just be looking crazy in the time. Like, I have to, and then the girls are so shady that you have to be on it, so I just come down here every night. Sometimes I work till 4 in the morning, till the first bus run, and make my coin if there is some.
Well, this is for fun for me. Like, I come downtown to enjoy myself. All of my friends are down here. It's like, it's like our little way of having a little family reunion. Smoke a cigarette, smoke some weed, and we would chill, and people would do people argue, fight, all of that, all downtown.
See, and this is the specific reason why I always say, just to make it apparent, that the mothers and fathers of transgender family and LGBT family, it's very important that they are educated on what's going on, because as you can see, our kids are here and our kids need help. Our families need educated on the subject so they can understand and be able to deal with the trans topic or LGBT topic, accordingly. So as far as drugs, how does that play a role?
And we're going to stop that there. You can always go check out the rest of the video at transparencetv.com or just transparence.tv. If you would like that link, you can definitely come see me after, and I can give you more information about that. So I want to start with, can anyone tell me the world population of transgender women? Does anyone know? Well, there are over 50 billion transgender citizens in the world. Of that population, 58% are homeless. 1 in every 5 of the transgender youth are homeless. Now, most of this group is African American and those of the lower socioeconomic descent. Now, because of the stigma that is associated with becoming transgender, our youth are mentally and physically abused at home by family. Some are put out, some run away without any resources to turn to. They turn to alternative means of support. either house to house, on the street, prostitution, and drugs. They become a way of maintaining and supporting themselves. Now, when they do turn, to get some help, turn for assistance, they're put in shelters or placements because they become, delinquents, basically. The shelters are set up by age and gender. So they put transgender youth with male populations. Like transgender women, they put with the male population. Transgender men, they put with the female population, which can be very uncomfortable. Like Lindsay was saying, it can make you feel like that ghost in the room. Like I don't belong here. They're bullied, taunted, molested, raped, all that happens, and it's very real. And in turn, they leave the shelter and return back to the streets because they come here for help and support, but they don't get that. So they go back to the streets. Now, all education just becomes non-existent. These youth are lost to us by violence and hate crimes, drug overdoses, and other sexually transmitted diseases. Now, 60% of transgender youth, the transgender youth population, have STDs, and 59% of them are HIV positive. Now, the lack of education leads to unprotected sex and drug use. Underage, uninsured means a lot of these problems will still exist. Now, getting a little tongue-tied, I'm sorry about that. Most of these youth are still involved in heavy prostitution because most are viewed as just basically undesirable to the masses, to the communities, because they are transgender. Now, Sisters United, what I planned on doing with this, and it's been a long time coming that I wanted to do this, but I finally got a chance to do it because I was a homeless youth. I was a sex worker. I know firsthand of what that life is about. And being though I'm a survivor of that, I want to give back to my sisters. And my goal, ultimate goal, is to have a homeless shelter for them and to provide that for them so they don't have to go to the streets. And I want that to be an outreach from the GLCC so we can have somewhere for them to be besides the streets. Now, I touched on the police topic, vaguely. In our city, I've experienced abuse from police, misgender a lot. I think when it comes down to handling us transgender women, even when they put us in jail, they put us with the men, which is an awkward situation. So I think we should, have some type of training or something for our law enforcement so they understand how to deal with transgender women correctly and men. Now, let me see here where I left off. I'm a cue card kind of girl. I'm sorry about that. Let me see where. All right. Now, by educating the families and communities as well as our youth, we hope to combat these problems by providing education, like I said, emergency housing, contraceptives, employment opportunities, so that our youth are given opportunities to become more productive citizens in society and their own communities. Now, to get this program off the ground, all assistance is needed. This thus far has been out of my pocket, something I've been doing, and the GLCC has been helping me do, everything that I can, but I can only do so much. We can only do so much. So, if there's anything, at all that anyone in the community can help out with this, because this is something that does not need to drag on. This is something that needs to be taken care of today. So, yeah, and I don't want to drag on either. I thank you guys. If anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to see me afterwards. And I will be happy to talk to you. And thank you guys.
I guess it's my turn. Again, I'm Nike Felice. I'm the Associate Director for Project Silk. And my section in this panel, I was going to talk about the faces of what does a homeless face look like nowadays. But I feel like a lot of that was addressed this morning and on the keynote speaking and also on the study, which, by the way, I think this is a fantastic study. If you need any more reference, please refer to that. But just to reiterate a little bit, homelessness doesn't have a specific face. Homelessness can look like any one of us. And particularly in the African American community, it's very important the way you present yourself. And so you can see someone walking down the street, sporting brand name, tennis shoes or clothes, and they are couch surfing. The other thing is that sometimes homeless people don't even consider themselves homeless because they are couch surfing from friend to friend, and because they have a place to stay, they don't really consider themselves being homeless. So you can imagine the difficulty of trying to assess the numbers in Pittsburgh or nationwide, which is why there's a lot of conversations. They say between 20 to 40% of homeless youth are LGBT, and that range right there tells you how difficult it is to figure out and come down, get an exact number of how many people are out there. But we can all agree that the number is really high. There is a lot of need out there in the community, and it's something that I'm glad that we're addressing today, and that hopefully we can continue to address. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time talking about Project Silk. Project Silk is a demonstration project funded by the CDC for HIV prevention. That was our main, that's how we started. And it's turned into something bigger than that, and it will continue to change and evolve as the CDC funding runs out, and our mission is going to change a little bit. But the thing that made Project Silk successful is that we've had a youth advisory board from even before we even had a place. We used the youth advisory board to tell us where it would make sense to have a space like this. They are the ones that named the project. They were tired of acronyms and cute, so they just said, we'll just call it Silk. And that's what it's been ever since. They're the ones that told us what kind of things they wanted in the space. And one of the things that they said was they wanted a shower, which at the time, I didn't think that it was going to be something that was going to be used very often. But once we opened and got on the ground, it has been used very often. And then the whole issue that we're here about today, it started to become more clear to me, and the importance of having a place to stay. So I think when creating a safe space, it's really important to include the feedback and the opinions of the people that you are targeting, because if you just think that you know what's needed and go out there and start building things, it's not necessarily true that if you build it, they will come. You really have to pay attention to what's going on. And so, and my philosophy in particular, in order to address the issue of HIV, you have to address the person as a whole. And in addressing the person as a whole is how the programs and stuff that we offer Project Silk has come about. And you really need to pay attention to these issues. So, for example, if you are homeless and you don't know where your next meal is going to be coming from, you're not going to be very concerned about your getting exposed to HIV, particularly if you're getting involved in sex work. A client may want to pay extra if you don't use a condom or don't protect yourself. And that's where a lot of the problems come from. So you have to address not only housing, you have to address employment, you have to address skill set, developing skills, you have to address legal issues. A lot of times folks find themselves in situations where they don't know that there can be help, especially with transgender folks whose ID don't match their presentation. That's something that is very helpful, and in the long run will help you in everything else that's going on in your life. So in order for us to treat these or try to prevent HIV, or for people that are already HIV positive, keep them in care so that their viral loads stay low and it's less possible to transmit the disease. So that's the thing that I would like to emphasize at this juncture. And things that the recommendations that are in the study, I think, speak for themselves. But in my experience, the main issues that homeless youth need addressed are employment and housing. Those are the top two things. And then the next thing are the legal issues, like I said, negotiating courts, or if you were giving a citation for sleeping somewhere, or things like that. There needs to be a lot more education within the community as to what are your options and what can you do and who can you talk to within the police or the government to address some of these issues. How can you get your name changed legally? How can you get your ID, a proper ID for yourself and things like that? And it's not the last, but in order of importance for the youth, the health is the other issue. Not just physical, but mental health. And especially if you are HIV positive, you really need to keep on top of your medications if you are put on medications to be able to not build resistance to some of the drugs that are out there. So I'm going to let Joanne continue and speak a little bit more about the health issues that our LGBT homeless youth find out there on the streets. But we'll have some time at the end of this panel so we can field your questions if you have any more questions about me, about Project Silk, or about anything else that we're talking about today.
So I was just going to address kind of general health issues. The SAY clinic, as Lindsay mentioned, is open to all high risk of homelessness, homeless youth. Some of our youth are in the queer community, LGBTQ, IA. Others are not. It kind of doesn't matter. You are welcome to come into the space. You need to be respectful of the others. I do a walk-in medical clinic. So our, kind of whatever you need to have addressed, it's, come on in, tell me what's going on. If I can sort of sneak in a bit of a physical just to kind of address other issues. I do kind of the standard work. I'm at Adolescent Clinic and Family Links. I'm the nurse practitioner at Family Links as well, which is one of the big shelter systems in Pittsburgh. I'm at the Schumann Detention Center and I'm at Adolescent Clinic. So I literally know some of the kids for years as they move through the different systems. And it's just funny because they'll walk in, and unfortunately some of them end up at the drug and alcohol units, and I'll say, I know you. No, you don't. Yes, I do. What, were you sent to? And then I'll go, Whalesdale. Oh, you're Nurse Joanne. I was there when I was 16, and now they're 30. So unfortunately, some of them, or I'll see their kids years later. I know your mom. So it's kind of a nice thing that I'm still that same friendly face. I learned very beautifully from one of the outreach workers at GLCC. This guy named David, who would say, we just accept people as they are and try and give them one better. Whoever you are, whatever your circumstances, come in, tell us what you need, and let's see what we can offer you. At the GLCC and at Family Links, kind of everywhere, we try to give them, it's not just medical care, it's treating the whole person. So asking, and it's just kind of standard medical stuff, and if you go to a specialist, you get asked about your diabetes or your back pain. But as a holistic practitioner, what's going on in your life? Where are you staying? Are you on the street? Do you have a place to be tonight? When's the last time you ate? We have food out there. Do you want to go eat first? What's going on? What's your concern? And then let's go, and what else? And what else? And what else? And what about your medical conditions? And do you have mental health issues? And are those being addressed? So we try to, sometimes there's a guy, Jake, who's at an HIV training today, who's the AmeriCorps volunteer. He'll sit on one side of the table and I'll be on the other, and we just bounce back and forth off each other, or I can run out to a social work intern or to Lindsay and say, we need this, this, and this. We have collaboration with Healthcare for the Homeless, so we have vision exams and glasses. We have dental care. We have mental health care through Bethlehem Haven, through Family Links. A lot of the people are uninsured or poorly insured or have limits. So we just try and, kind of hit everything, every part of a person and find out what they need and are there for them and try and offer them services. And I'm a very hands-on, let's call right now. I'm not giving you that phone number, let's sit here and call right now and make that appointment. We have lots of kids who don't make it to many of their appointments. If the appointment, I don't know how you are, I am a very busy person, I lead a very hectic life, I write things on my hands, I call myself, I send myself texts and emails. If you don't have that, if you don't know where you're staying that night, if you have unstable housing, how are you gonna remember, if you don't even know what day of the week it is barely, how are you gonna know when your appointment is 2 weeks away, and you don't have bus tickets to haul across town, and your shoes don't really fit, and it's cold and you haven't eaten in 2 days. So just trying to be really aware of all those things. I can babble on for hours, so. We just try to, it's the same health issues that other people have, but if you're in survival mode, you're not really worried about your blood sugar being off balance. You just need to get through the next day. You don't necessarily have food that you're supposed to eat. So just being really respectful and asking about those things, trying to find out what people really need, finding out the resources in your community, and if you don't know them, other people do. But sometimes we'll just get online and Google something and let's find this in your community if you're not from right here. So that's just kind of some of the medical stuff. There's not, when I started doing the work years ago, I thought, oh, maybe there'll be a lot of athlete's foot and maybe there'll be a lot of scabies and maybe there'll be a lot of this, the stuff you think of for people that aren't really able to take care of their physical body. But it's not all that. It's everything. It's a cold, it's a stomach virus, it's mental health issues. People don't want to go, there's a huge stigma for mental health care. We had a therapist down at GLCC for a year. Barely anybody would speak to her. She felt different. She felt, for them, she wasn't. She was lovely. But to them, she felt intimidating and people didn't really feel safe to talk to her. There's a whole stigma around it. But like I said, we make a lot of appointments. We have, you need stuff that is, one of the things is that I'm physically there and it's a walk-in and we have somebody kind of knocking on the door. You got 3 more people. Oh, somebody just came in. Can you stay a little longer? But to be there when they're there, they know that, so having a person there regularly, having the ability to drop in, having appointments within a couple of days, having bus tickets, those things make a huge difference because otherwise people can't get to the appointments, they can't remember, they don't have an address, or if their phone is off, how do you remind them of things? Those are all things to keep in mind. Keeping in mind that people need empathy, they need love, they need respect. To be the invisible person, to be standing there and nobody really sees you and you really just need someone to treat you as a person, to listen to what you have to say, to give a hug. I get really emotional because I just love what I do, but just take good care of people like you would take care of yourself or your kids. Sorry, I always do this. I'm gonna go back to my notes. Things that we like to do, and one of the things that made a big difference was we got Liz Miller is speaking in another group, is the Director of Adolescent Medicine, which is now changing to the Center for Adolescent and Young Adult Health, because we see people up until 26. When she came in, it was already, we thought we were doing great work, and she came in and is blowing the walls off the clinic and the roof off the top because she's just expanding us like crazy. And one of the first things she did was let's look at the paperwork. Where's the stuff that says what's your preferred name and your preferred gender? Put it right out there in the beginning. Let people tell you who they are. Where's the signage that says everyone welcome? Where's the LGBTQIA stuff? Where's the little HRC equal sign? People walk into a space and they scan the room for safety. remember your trauma-informed stuff, they scan the room, they look, where can they be, and where, am I welcome here? Are people looking at me funny? Do they think I don't belong here? Who's there saying, hi, welcome to the clinic, welcome to the space, welcome to this, I'm so-and-so, and I know that this is something we talk about a lot. I'm Joanne, I prefer she, her pronouns. For a lot of people, that doesn't feel comfortable, but asking people, for the people that it matters greatly. Asking someone, how do you like to be preferred? If their name is Dallas, and you think, that's an unusual first name, it doesn't matter, that's what they go by. Some people go by Buddy, some people go by Guy, and that's not their name, it doesn't matter. Address them the way they want to be addressed. It makes a huge difference. If you need to, we practice sometimes with people who aren't used to using different pronouns. Just like, let's try it, let's do this. It just matters a great deal. Have all your staff be safe zone trained, which if you're in a facility, Children's Hospital, Western Psych's in the middle of doing this, Children's is in the middle of doing this, Persad is going out, Schumann's in the middle of doing this, that's a rougher spot to have it done. But, the difference in somebody being told, you're just a boy after all. You're still just a girl, you can't cover your boobs, that doesn't matter. Somebody told me that their dad said that, it doesn't matter. Like, everything you're working for, everything, and it's not all just about trans folks here today, but that's a group that people don't necessarily understand. Everybody deserves to be treated with respect. If you haven't showered in a week, if you have, think of what those people, what people are going through, not those people. Think of what people go through every day. It might not be my life, it might not be your life, but they're living it every day, and they deserve as much love and respect as we can give them and help. Nurse Joanne, can you make this appointment? No, but let's go get a phone. Where's Jake? Here, sit down and, make these appointments. This is how you do it. They don't know how to do it. Some of them can't read. There's all these other issues. Maybe somebody needs glasses. Maybe they have a learning disability. Unless you're asking and trying to do things with people, they don't know. You don't know what they need. So to say, go do this. Here, go do this on your own. Well, if they could have done it, they would have done it already. They probably need your help. They probably need hands-on help and someone just to be there. I'm right here. You make the phone call for the dental appointment. I'm right here if you don't know what to say. Here's Joanne, they want this. Okay. Hi, this is Joanne. Can I help you with this? So just be there for them and help them through things. As Lindsay said, be present, sit and listen. If you want to respond if it's appropriate. But sometimes people just need to know that somebody heard them. I think it's okay to cry with somebody. It's okay to laugh with somebody. It's okay to have an inside joke. It lets people know that they're valued and that they're there. We have a huge collaboration at GLCC. So it's Healthcare for the Homeless, Persad, CHP, Family Links. Just all these people come together. Susie, that's running around seating people, invites everybody she meets to try and who knows what services are happening so that everybody can kind of grab from, okay, I'll get quick. I think I've kind of talked about other stuff. One of the things that comes up is that some people don't feel comfortable in a kind of a standard clinic. Why is that? Why is your place, why is your clinic, your store, your facility not welcoming? Why does a certain group of people not feel that fits them? Why do they want services in their own place? And not to pick on anything at all, but we've talked a lot about having services at Silk. So it makes us constantly think what don't we have? Not what's wrong with those kids? Why won't they come to us? We have services. What's wrong with what are we not providing? What are we missing? We need people to come and tell us it doesn't feel comfortable because such and such. Then we need to change the way we do things to make it comfortable. Again, a lot of the health issues are the same person to person. I just wanted to touch one other thing because I know I'm babbling too long. One of the things I work at Family Links in the shelter, it's a huge discussion to have over and over with lots of members of different communities. How do you house people together? How do you house people of different identities together? It makes sense to house people of a female identity in that gendered open dorm room. One of the things I like to point out to people is, and this is a hard discussion, what about the rest of the people in the room? What if you have a cis female, a biologically female person identified, they're in the right identity for their body, a room full of those people and there's what appears to be a male-bodied transgender female in the room, there you can talk about respect, you can talk about other things, but what about if that's triggering people who've had sexual abuse by a male-bodied person? These are just things to discuss, and you want everybody to feel comfortable and not to, oh, then they have to be housed separately because they have other issues. But it's a chance to talk about it in the community, it's a chance to talk about it with the other youth or the adults. It's something all of the facilities in town are facing. It's not an easy situation anyway. It's not an easy solution, I should say. And it needs a lot of open discussion to keep people feeling comfortable. And I'll shut up. Sorry. So, I think we have 5 minutes for questions.
So, yeah, does anybody have any questions?
Well, it's not necessarily a question,
Sure.
Sort of a comment, but my name is Nikki Williams. I'm with Action Housing, and I wanted to address something that Ciara mentioned. You were interested in a shelter. So, Action Housing, in its history, we have created housing for many, many different populations. People come to us and say, you know, hey, one example is the deaf community. They came to us and said, we want housing, we want to be integrated in the community, but we want a place of our own. So we're doing that. The county came to us and said, you know, youth aging out of foster care, we need housing. I believe that was a 3-year initiative. We planned, we pulled people together, and now it's an active program called the My Place program. So I strongly encourage you to come to Action Housing with a plan or without one, just with an idea.
I'm planned and ready.
Now?
And make it happen, because that is our job, to create safe communities. And I'd be more than willing to help you initiate that process, because I work with some young people who have transitioned and are in the process of transitioning. And it is a whole nother level of discrimination that I have experienced being a supporter of that community. So
Yeah, even the supporters get backlash. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm in, you know, whatever it is that I need to do to introduce you to our organization and make it happen. Let's do it.
All right, thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
Any other questions, comments?
Hi, I'm Cindy Haynes with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. I had a question. I understand LGBTQ, but the speaker this morning said LGBTQ
I.
2 or I.
IA?
No, he did Two-Spirit.
Oh, okay.
I think out west, he's from Oregon,
Yeah.
so they talk about people being two-spirited, and I think that comes from Native American culture. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah. Two-Spirit is a Native American culture thing, and it's basically a third gender. I want to make a note that it's incredibly disrespectful for somebody not in that culture to use it. But it's a third gender, it can be considered neutral. I'm not completely positive, but that's what I know about it.
Okay, it's just, I think it's used in other parts of the country. They talk about two-spirited people, and it's a very respected, as far as I know, way of speaking of it. Masha may know that differently. So, so GLBTQIA is gay, lesbian,
Bisexual, transgender, queer,
or questioning.
Queer, questioning, invisible minority, intersex, asexual, ally. And the ally is debated. Invisible minority, intersex, ally, asexual, ally is sometimes debated. But the biggest thing is if you don't know, always ask. That's really the takeaway. Like, it's okay to ask questions if you do so in a respectful way.